All right. Good evening to you all. My name is James from Varsity Unlimited Tutors. I believe maybe half of you already know me from the classes that we did during the week when we were looking at our business finance module for those that are doing advanced diploma in business management. And as I promised, that today we wanted to start looking at microeconomics. So also in the class today, we've got our first year students who I believe started their classes today, who are joining us also. So both the guys that are doing advanced diploma and those that are also doing first year, you are all doing the same module, which is microeconomics. So that is why I've combined you both into this class, because you're basically doing the same module, microeconomics. Your exams will be different, but the content that you're going to be covering is the same. So I'm going to be meeting you at the same time to cover that particular content. For those of you that are new to this class that do not know me or that do not know my face, like I said, I am James. I am a private tutor. Take note, I am not a lecturer from your university. I am a private tutor who provides lessons for students that are having a little bit of difficulties with their study, that need an extra hand in terms of making sure that they pass their assignments, making sure that they pass their examination, and making sure that they understand the content that they are supposed to understand. So that is the service that I provide. So like I said at the beginning of the week, for the next 2 weeks, which is up until the 1st of September, I'll be providing these lessons for free, just as an introduction. And then those of you that are interested in continuing to receive private lessons, you can then make your payments and then we can help each other out. So we want to look at an introduction of what economics is. Then after the lecture is done, at the end of the lecture, I'll come back again to the issue of how do you join if you want to join, right? I'll come back to the issue of how do you join if you want to join. But let's just look at what economics is, the basics of economics. So the approach that I use is I try to really zone in into what is important. And then after every 2 or 3 lectures, we do past exam papers that are relevant for the unit or units that we have covered. So for each lecture that we do, we are going to be covering at least 1 unit, which means we are going to need about 9 weeks or 2 months for us to complete the whole study module, right? But in between, we'll have to have extra sessions where we go through the past exam papers relevant to the specific units that we have covered, so that at least whilst we are going through the study guide, we are also going through the exam preparation, right? Someone says here there is no sound. I think it's on their side. Is everyone hearing me? I'll just confirm again. Are you guys hearing me?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay.
Yes,
I can
we
hear
can hear.
you. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I think it's on their side.
Yes, yes.
All right, that's fine. If you're hearing me, that's okay. So now, let me introduce economics. So whenever we are looking at the study of economics, right, there are different facets or different areas of economics. We'll talk about them in a few minutes. But whenever we are looking at the study of economics, let's not put it into what we call theory, but let's look it into what is practical about the subject of economics. So when an individual makes a choice in an economy, right, that is what is actually important for us as economics. How do we make choices in an economy? So the first question is, why do we have to make choices, right? So think of South Africa as a nation, right? We have got a limited amount of land. The land that is in South Africa is limited, right? You cannot just have land everywhere and you cannot take land everywhere. It is limited in nature. That is why there are title deeds. That is why if you need a piece of land, you have to go and buy it, because it is not ubiquitous. It is limited in nature. right? There is limited amount of people in South Africa. So people represent labor. So there is a limited amount of labor in South Africa. There is limited amount of natural resources. There's limited amount of gold. There's limited amount of trees. There's limited amount of water, etc. Right? So there is limited amount even of capital within the nation. All of these things are limited. So because the resources of the nation are limited, we cannot produce everything that we want as a country. We cannot produce everything. We cannot produce 1 billion cars. We cannot produce trillions of clothes. We have to produce using the resources that we have, and these resources are limited in nature. Now, let's bring it to you as an individual. For example, you have a salary, right? Let's say that you are earning 30,000 Rand. That is your salary that you're earning in a single month, right? So with the 30,000 Rand that you have, you cannot buy everything. So because you cannot buy everything, you have to choose what you buy. You have to choose the accommodation that you use. You have to choose the clothes, the cars, the food that you buy because of the limitation. So that limitation also applies to the country as a whole. So economics therefore becomes the study of human behavior, or the study of how people make choices because there is limited resources, or how people match limited resources and unlimited ones, or the things that they want to consume. So that's what economics is all about. It's just a study of the choices that we are making as people whenever we are faced with limitations, right? So in our study of economics, there are two major branches of economics. Okay, just give me a second here. Sure what's happening with my slide. It's acting up. Just give me a second. Oh, it disappeared. That's why. Yeah, that's better. All right. So in our study of economics, there are different branches of economics that we are going to need to study. Right. The major branches is macroeconomics and microeconomics. So for those that are doing first year, in this semester, you're going to do what is called microeconomics with an I. And then in your second semester, that is in February next year, you are going to do macroeconomics. For those that are doing advanced diploma in business management, you guys only cover microeconomics. You don't do macroeconomics. So what is the difference between macro and microeconomics? So when we are looking at, and this is a typical exam question, by the way, this is a typical exam question. Knowing the differences between micro and macroeconomics is an exam question. Most exams, it will be there. Right. So the difference between macro and microeconomics, when we are dealing with microeconomics, we are dealing with, let's use, it's not the correct word, but I want to use it because it makes it clear. We are dealing with the singular economic agent, right? We are dealing with the choices that one person or one small group of people are making within an economy. So for example, the choice that I make whether to buy bread or not to buy bread, that's a microeconomics question. The choice that Spar is to make whether to charge 15 Rand for the bread or 20 Rand for the bread, that's a microeconomics question that they are answering or that they are making, right? So it deals with the theory of the decisions that are being made by one consumer or a small group of consumers, or the decisions that are being made by one company or a small group of companies. So that's what microeconomics is all about. It focuses on the smaller parts of the economy, right? But when we are dealing with macroeconomics with an A, macroeconomics. We are now dealing with the broad economic. If we deal with South Africa as a whole, that's macroeconomics. If we say that the general prices in South Africa are increasing, that's called the inflation rate of South Africa. That becomes macroeconomics. If we say that there are 29% of South Africans that do not have jobs at the moment, that's macroeconomics, because we are dealing with the whole of the country. If we're saying that the GDP of the country is 33 trillion South African rand, that's a macroeconomic issue. If you check in your study guide, there is a table in your study guide which gives you the different examples of issues that are under microeconomics and the issues that are under macroeconomics. Please study that table, because like I said, this is a typical, of course it's like worth 4 marks in the exam, but it's a typical exam question that you see in the exam where you are given, usually he gives you an example and he says the person wants to decide on the price of tomatoes. Is this macroeconomics or is this macroeconomics? And you have to decide which branch of economics does it fall under, right? Which branch of economics does it fall under? So please go through this table in your spare time so that you understand the differences between those two things. Another typical exam question which comes through when you're trying to divide the branches of economics is positive and normative economics. When you're dealing with positive economics, you are dealing with facts. When your economics is about facts, if I tell you that the current unemployment rate is 35%, that is a fact. It can be traced, right? When we can go to Statistics SA and get that fact, that's positive economics. If I tell you that if I increase the price of a product, the quantity demanded of the product will go down, that is a fact. That is an economic theory, which is a fact. That prices, that is quantity demanded responds negatively to the prices changes, right? So that is a fact, right? So facts, theories, which are very objective in nature, fall under positive economics. The normative economics, now we are looking at the recommendations that you want to make. So for example, if I say, you know what, lecturers are doing a very good job, their salaries should be increased. That's not a fact. That's an opinion. That is a recommendation that I am making. Or if I say, I think that the cabinet is too big. If we reduce the cabinet, it will help the government to save money and that will improve the economy. Yeah, that's not a fact. That's a recommendation. That is an opinion, a value judgment, something that I think that is ought to be within the economy. So that's normative economics. So normally what he does is he gives you a statement in the exam and he asks you, is this normative economics or is this positive economics? So you have to check that statement. Is that statement an actual fact or that statement is an opinion or a recommendation for you to determine the difference between the two? All right, so that's our first thing there. So second thing, remember I defined what economics is. So in our definition of economics, there are some key terms that you need to understand for you to be able to understand economics. You need to be understanding these key terms. Someone says, okay, all right, dealing with, all right, guys, all right, let me say this right now so that we don't confuse each other. When I am teaching this, I am using your study guides. I'm also using the recommended textbooks. My notes are not in a particular order following your study guides. I'm teaching the key points as I know you need to understand them in order for you to pass your exams and your assignments. I'm not following word after word what is in this because that's pointless. You can read. So I'm just picking what I know is key so that you understand those things. So sometimes it might not follow exactly what is in your study guide, but at the end of the day, it teaches you what is in that specific unit that you need to understand. And we are under unit number 1 and 2. This is where we are focusing our energies on. Unit number 1 and 2. That is where we are focusing our energies on. Yes, the slides will be shared, but we'll talk about this at the end of the class. All right, so key terms that you need to understand when we are defining economics. The first thing is what we call unlimited wants, right? So a want is a desire. So for example, me as James, I want a Lamborghini, right? I desire to have a Lamborghini or a G-Wagon, whatever car that you like. A want is a desire that you have as an individual. A want is unlimited in nature. As long as it's a want, as long as I don't have to pay for it, I want a Lamborghini, I want a Ferrari, I want an Aston Martin, I want all of them, right? It is unlimited in nature. It's an unlimited desire that you have as an individual. And whenever we are talking in economics, we come back to this term, unlimited ones. But you will notice that at a certain point in time, when we do the theory of demand and the theory of supply, I'm going to introduce two extra terms. I'm going to introduce the term demand and I'm going to introduce the term a need. So when we say something is demanded, we are saying that it is a want that is backed by the ability to buy it. I want an Aston Martin and I have 3 million rand in my bank account to buy it. So that's now demand. So if I have a want and I have the money, it then becomes demand. If I have a want and I cannot live or I cannot survive without that want, then it becomes a need. So if I want food to eat, and if I don't eat food, I'm going to die, that becomes a need. It's just that we need to clarify those things because as we go further into the study module, they will be applicable at certain points in time. So that's the first key term, unlimited wants. So wants are unlimited in nature. People want whatever they want. But on the opposite side of unlimited wants, we have the word scarcity. Scarcity means limited resources. Scarcity means limited resources. So in any economy that you operate in any economy that you operate in, there are four major resources. We're going to talk about them in a little while. There are four major resources that are in economy, and these resources are always limited. So let's talk about these resources, and then we'll come back to opportunity cost. Right. So there are four major resources in an economy. The first resource is called natural resources. Some textbook will use the word land. Some textbooks will say land. Some textbooks will say natural resources. So this basically means the actual physical land where we have our buildings, where we do our farming, right? Also, it means the water, the lakes that we have, the rivers that we have, the oceans that we have. It also means the livestock that is on that land, the kudus, the buffaloes, the elephants. It also means the wind. It also means the sun. It also means the trees and etc. So all of the natural resources, the gold, all of those things, they are part of land as a resource. So why do we use the word resource in economics? We are saying that, think of a company that is manufacturing. When you're manufacturing as a company, you're going to need some inputs, right? If you want to manufacture, let's say, a computer, you're going to need some metal, you're going to need some plastic, you're going to need some chips, you're going to need some labor, you're going to need all of those things that you need to manufacture the computer. So those are your resources. So an economy also, it has got resources. So this is what we are talking about. So there are four of them. So land, we have talked about it. The second one is labor. Labor, we are talking about our contribution as individuals to the economy. So it is in twofold. It is either physical labor. Physical labor, think of the guys that work in construction, that do the actual construction, the builders and the whatnot. Think of the guys that work at the farms, that do the actual, work at the farm, the physical labor at the farm. So that's one part of labor. The second part of labor is intellectual labor. Think of your engineers, think of your architects, and etc. Right? That's intellectual labor. So if you take labor and you take land, these are called primary factors of production. This is a typical exam question. In the exam, your lecturer will say, which of the following is a primary factor of production? And then you can pick, if there is land there, you can pick it. If there is labor there, you can pick it. Usually it's not that easy. You literally write, maybe you write a teacher. So, you know, okay, a teacher provides part of labor. So a teacher is a primary factor of production, right? So you have to be able to read between the what, the line. That's a typical exam question, that one. So number 3, economic capital. The word that we put there, economic capital, is intentional because there is what is called financial capital. Financial capital is not part of the 4 factors of production in economics. I'll repeat. We said economic capital. Why did we use the word economic? Because there is also what is called financial capital, and financial capital is not part of the productive resources of an economy. So when we're saying economic capital, we're saying anything that is man-made that is used in the production process. So if we are Coca-Cola, if you have a building that you're using in the production process, the building is man-made, it is economic capital. If you are Coca-Cola, if you have got a truck that you're using to deliver your drinks to the shop, that truck is man-made. It is part of economic capital. If you are a farmer in Mpumalanga, on your farm, you have got a tractor that you're using on your farm. That tractor is man-made. It is part of economic capital. So if you see another typical exam question, you will say which of these is the factors of production, and then you will see A, you will say land, B, labor, C, and etc. And then there is money there. Money is not a factor of production. Money is financial capital. It is not a factor of production. You want economic capital, right? And I gave you the examples of economic capital. Then the last factor of production is entrepreneurship. So when you are in an economy, you are going to need people that will combine land, that will combine labor, and that will combine economic capital within a company setup to produce a particular product or to produce a particular good. And those people are called entrepreneurs. These are people that are willing to take the risk of creating the business in order for it to either succeed or it will fail. So that's another skill that you need. So this is why you see, if you've ever noticed, I'm not sure, I haven't checked the current cabinet if it is a ministry of small business, enterprise, and whatnot. But there are institutions within our nations that support small business enterprises, micro enterprises. You know, there's always talk the government is not supporting small businesses. This is the reason, because the government understands that entrepreneurship is a skill that is needed within the economy. So if they do not support that skill, that economy will fail. So entrepreneurship is a factor of production that is actually needed for an economy to succeed. And if you take economic capital and entrepreneurship, they provide you secondary factors of production. These two provide you with secondary factors of production. So let's go back to where we were. All right. So we've talked about unlimited ones. We've talked about scarcity. And when I said scarcity, I said is the limitation in terms of resources. So it means that we've got a limited amount of land. We've got a limited amount of labor. We've got a limited amount of entrepreneurs. We have a limited amount of economic capital within the economy. So when these two limitations happen, the limited resources and the unlimited ones, if they combine, you have to make a choice in an economy, right? You have to make a choice in an economy. So whenever you make a choice, you have to give up something. If I give you 100 Rand right now, and I say go and buy food, if you go to McDonald's, you can either buy the Big Mac, or you can say, I do not want the Big Mac, I want the wrap. Right. So if you choose the Big Mac, it means you can no longer buy the wrap. Right. So that is what opportunity cost is all about. Opportunity cost is what has been forgone when we've made a choice. Again, let me a practical example. Think of a farmer. A farmer at the beginning of the year, somewhere around, let's say October, right? They have a choice. They can either plant potatoes or they can plant maize meal, right? If they choose to plant potatoes, They cannot use the same land to plant maize meal because they've planted potatoes on the land. So which means that their opportunity cost is the harvest of the maize meal that they could have gotten in 4 or 5 months' time. So that's what opportunity cost. What is the next best alternative that has been forgone when you were making a choice? Typical exam question, the lecturer can ask for the definition, or the lecturer can give you an example and say, what is the opportunity cost? When he says, what is the opportunity cost? There are two scenarios. Scenario number one is very straightforward. He will tell you that the person had a choice. They could either buy a pair of jeans, a t-shirt, and some glasses. They really liked the pair of jeans, but they ended up buying the t-shirt. What is the opportunity cost of the t-shirt? The opportunity cost of the t-shirt is the pair of jeans that they really, really liked, but they did not end up buying. That's a straightforward question, right? But there are some questions that are not as straightforward. Some questions that will have figures, that will have numbers, where he will tell you that, oh, there is this player who was playing in the Premiership, and this player was banned from the match because of whatever he did, and now he has to pay a fine of 30,000 rand. And now if he does not attend the match, he's not going to receive 3,000 rand, and so forth and so forth. And then what is the opportunity cost? You now have to add up certain figures to you to arrive at the opportunity cost. We are going to do 2 or 3 of these examples when we do the past exam paper for unit number 1, and I'll show you how you do the respective calculations for opportunity cost if there are any calculations to be done. Then lastly, on the definition, scarcity and poverty are 2 different things. Bill Gates does not face poverty. He's very rich. But Bill Gates still faces scarcity. No matter how rich you are, you still face scarcity. Then that is why those guys continue working, because there is scarcity. There is limitations in terms of what they can do at the end of the day. So poverty and scarcity are 2 completely different things. Take note of that. All right. This one for now, you see it from my notes. I don't think it's very important. I want to go to this question. This will be my last thing for today. The economic questions. The economic questions. Why are we studying economics? The reason why we study economics, I think you can already answer this. The reason why we study economics is people want to make choices. So we want to find the best way people can make good choices in terms of how can we satisfy our unlimited wants with the limited resources that we have. How can we deal with scarcity when we have got a limited budget within the economy? How can we allocate the resources that are limited that we have efficiently among so many different ones that we have in economics? So this brings rise to what are called the 3 economic questions. Another typical exam question. What are the 3 economic questions? The economic questions are what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. When we say what to produce, we are asking ourselves that with the land that we have in South Africa, with the labor that we have in the country, with the economic capital that we have, what exactly should we produce? Should we produce computers, or should we focus on providing tourism? Should we produce clothes, or should we produce medicine? Should we produce fruit and vegetables, or should we produce wheat? What should we produce exactly, given that we have got limited resources within our economy? So economies have got a choice between focusing on physical goods or focusing on services. They have a choice between focusing on capital goods or focusing on consumer goods, or a choice between the different consumer goods that are available for them to produce at the end of the what? At the end of the day. So that's the question of what to produce. Right. The question of how to produce. You have decided that, look, we want to produce potatoes in South Africa. That's what we want to produce. So, how are we going to produce the potatoes? Are we going to take all the land in South Africa and get 1 million people into the farms, and then we are going to buy those holes and we are going to start doing our potatoes? Or we are going to buy 1,000 tractors and we are going to use those tractors to do our potatoes, right? So the decision of how much land, how much capital, how many entrepreneurs are we going to use within our production process? How do we mix? I'm pausing there because it's a typical exam question. How do we mix the factors of production in order for us to arrive at what we want to produce? Is the question of how to produce. The word mix there is very, very important because I've seen it in the exams several times. How do we mix the different 4 factors of production in order for us to produce? That's how to produce. Then the last question is for whom to produce. For whom to produce is we. Now we have got 23 million tons of potatoes in our warehouses. How do we distribute these potatoes to the people? Do we say, hey, stand in a line. Each of you is going to get 10 bags of potatoes. Or do we put them in a shop and put a price? Whoever wants them is going to buy them. So the decision of how to distribute is the last question, which is for whom are we producing? For whom are we producing? And that question is answered through the law of demand and supply that we're going to do later on. All right. So whenever we are in an economy, these 3 questions always need to be answered. All right. There are different ways of answering these questions. The 3 most common ways of answering these questions is using command economics, using market economics, or using mixed economics. Those are the 3 most common ways of answering these 3 economic questions. When we are saying command economics or a command economy, this is an economy where political institutions make the decisions on behalf of the people. There is a central planning authority, typical exam question. There is a central planning authority in a command economy that will decide what should be produced, how it should be produced, and how it's going to be distributed, usually through rationing. Right. In a market economy, there is no political institutions making those decisions. The market itself, through the self-interest and free market forces such as prices, will detect what is produced. If the price of potatoes goes up, farmers will produce potatoes. If the price of potatoes go down, farmers will not produce potatoes. That's a market economy. Then a mixed economy, which is what we are in South Africa. Typical exam question. Which economy is South Africa? It is a mixed economy. There are political institutions that are making some of the decisions, but the market itself also makes the majority of the decisions. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what economics is all about. This is what an introduction of economics is all about. Right. In my next class, I'm going, which is tomorrow, by the way, I'm going to introduce what is called the production possibility curve. The production possibility curve is just a graphical representation of the economic problem. You can find it in your prescribed textbooks. I know that in your study guides, it might not really be covered in depth, but it is in your prescribed textbook, and it is an exam question that you are going to be asked. So we are going to cover it tomorrow, the production possibility curve. So as we deal with economics, we are going to do calculations because economics has calculations. We are going to have to learn how to do calculations. As we do economics, we are going to have to learn how to do graphs because economics has got graphs. And then we are going to do theory because economics has theory. Now, like I said I'm going to come back to the issue of how I help students. So the way that I help students is, number 1, I do lessons such as the one that we've done today. And these lessons are weekly. Right. So, for example, microeconomics, we are going to be meeting every Sunday at 8 p.m. for 1 hour to 1 hour 20 minutes. Usually it's not more than 1 hour 20 minutes. Usually it's just 1 hour to 1 hour 20 minutes, right? So every Sunday at 8 o'clock, I have a microeconomics lesson. Every Monday, we are meeting for business finance. We're also meeting for introduction to business management. Every Tuesday, we have marketing, and we're also meeting for end user, digital transformation, analytical techniques, and so forth. That's an example of the timetable that is there, right? Take note, I'm not alone. So some of you might say, hey, James, are you going to manage all of these modules? I am not alone. Varsity Unlimited Tutors is a group of tutors. So I am not alone. Myself, I teach microeconomics. I teach business finance. In your second semester, I teach financial reporting and analysis. There are some other modules that I teach, but for now, I take the first two, that is microeconomics and business finance. Then I have tutors who go through introduction to business management, marketing, and etc. Some of you guys that were with me during the week, we've already done understanding marketing. We've done a bit of business management. We've done a bit of advanced management, and etc. I'm sure you can see the dates there. If we are not yet started the class, we'll start it at a future date. For example, end user, digital transformation and analytical techniques, they are going to start the other week in September. I think the 2nd of September or the 3rd of September. That's when those classes are starting. So that's one way I assist. The second way that I assist is you guys, you have got assignments that you are provided by your university. And some of them, they are quite difficult. Some of them are very simple. I also go through the assignment with you within the class setup. I do not necessarily do the assignment for you, but I go with you guys step by step. This question says calculate the accounting rate of return. This is how you calculate the accounting rate of return. You take this figure there, you put it there. Let's do it together. Is the answer correct? Yes, it's correct. You can go ahead and submit your what? Your answers. So we go through the questions that your lecturer has provided you so that at least you can get a very good pass mark, whether it's 100% or 99% in your assignment, so that you are well prepared for your exam. Then at the end of the semester, we also do exam preparation classes to prepare you for the exams that are going to be happening. If you are interested in what I've talked about, number one, this week is going to be free up until the 1st of September. Please join. Even if you don't have the money, please join. Up until the 1st of September, it's going to be free. From the 1st of September, those that are interested, you need to make a payment. It's 800 per each module that you need assistance with. So you can say, James, I'm struggling with economics. I only want to join economics. It's 800 Rand. You can pay in installments, 2-3 months. That's still fine with me. You can WhatsApp me. My number is there, right at the bottom there. You can WhatsApp me. I can give you more details if you want more details. You can WhatsApp me. You can call me. I'll give you more details in terms of how you can how you can join these classes if you are interested in joining these classes. Then lastly, I'm also on YouTube. Varsity Unlimited Tutors. You can search my name, Varsity Unlimited Tutors on YouTube. You will find my channel there on YouTube. It has got a lot of videos that you can also go through. Although most of the videos that are on YouTube, they're like unit number 1, unit number 2, unit number 3, maybe, but they don't go further on. The reason for that is people pay for these lessons, so I cannot put all of them on YouTube because people are paying for them. So the ones that are not on YouTube are the ones that we are starting on the 1st of September. But the YouTube channel is there so that you can also verify that I am a legit tutor. I'm not trying to steal your money or do something that is what? Something that is funny. Now I'm going to attend to your questions if there are any questions. All right, let's see. I'm looking at the chat here. Someone says, can you please share the slides? Yes, I'll share the slides with you guys, but I'll only share the slides for tonight. I'm not going to share all of my slides because, like I said, remember, some people are paying for these classes. So those that are paying will get all 204 of my slides. But for tonight, I'll share the part that we covered tonight. Next question says, do we have Zoom tomorrow? Yes. Tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the evening, we have another Zoom session where we are doing the production possibility curve. Someone says, do you teach project management? Yes, we do project management, introduction to project management. I believe it's going to be done on Saturdays, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll share the timetable. If you have a question in terms of if we cover a certain module, you can text me, WhatsApp me, I'll respond to you on WhatsApp, whether we cover a certain module or not. But we do project management. Someone says, you guys are amazing. Oh, thank you so much. I think it's Moodley. I thank you so much for that word there. Yes, we try our best to make sure that you get as many distinctions as possible, because we go through everything, we go through the assignments and etc. But we do try our best. Someone says, is it 800 per semester? Yes, it's 800 rand for the entire semester, but for one subject, for one module. If you can't afford to pay 800 for that module, you can do installments. So you can say, this month I'm paying 200, another month I'm paying another 200, another month I'm paying another 200. That's still fine with me. Just tell me before you do that. Just send me WhatsApp message, James, I want to join, but I can only do installments. And then we agree, and then you can do your installments, right? And then my banking details, of course, Varsity Unlimited Tutors. It's an FNB account. Make sure that you contact my number when you're dealing with us, so that in case maybe someone tries to con you or swindle you, just deal with my number at the bottom there, James, or any one of those two numbers at the bottom. Those are my PAs. The other one is Jen. The other one is Malin. They are my PAs. They assist me. Usually they're available from Monday up to Fridays. During the weekend, sometimes I might just be me, but all of those numbers, they can help you out. But my number is the one at the bottom, 071 3000 634. Right. Yes, every lesson that we do is recorded. Every lesson that we do is recorded, and then we send the video afterwards to the students that would have joined that particular class. So for example, this one, I'm going to send the video most likely around 10 o'clock. I just need to upload it to my YouTube channel, and then you can have access to the video. I'll also send it to the WhatsApp group. I'll also send the link of the video to the WhatsApp group. So you can either go directly to YouTube to look for the video, or I will send it to the WhatsApp group, also the link to the WhatsApp group, right? Are there any other questions before I dismiss for the night? All right, if there are no questions, guys, sorry, 634. If there are no questions, guys, thank you for coming through today.
James, sorry,
yes,
can I ask something?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, this is the first time I'm studying online, so I just want to find out the best way. You go through the textbook, you go through the workbook that you're given, and you can't write everything right on the notes. Now, what is your best advice in terms of making notes and all those things?
Okay, my advice is going to be in two ways, right? I'm going to advise you as a student, right? And then I'm going to advise you also as a person who is doing a tutorial, right? So as a student, right, please make sure that you go through your study guide first before you go through the textbook. Your study guide is your first point of call, because your study guide will provide you with what is called the learning outcomes, what the lecturer wants you to learn. So go through your study guide first. Then your study guide becomes a guideline of what is important in your textbook. Right. So when you're going through your study guide, you can write as many notes as you want. But when you go through the textbook, stick to notes that are relevant to the study guide. Don't write everything in the textbook, otherwise you're not going to finish. Right. So your study guide is your guideline. Make use of what are called at each and every, when you start each and every unit, there are some learning outcomes or learning objectives that are there. Stick to those. Those will help you. Right. So that's as a student. Then if you are going to be joining my classes, my advice is this. If you are joining my classes, use the study guide and use the videos. Don't worry about the textbook, because my notes are based on the textbook. My videos are based on the textbook. So you don't need to worry about the textbook if you are joining my classes. You just need to verify with your study guide here and there. Just double check with your study guide here and there just to make sure that we have not left anything out for you. But otherwise, the textbook, you don't need to worry about it because my notes are based on the textbook. I hope I've answered you.
Yes, you've answered me. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, that's fine. Anything else? Any other question? All right, guys. Just a reminder, for the guys that are doing advanced diploma in business management, we said we are starting assignments 1 September or 2 September, somewhere there. We're starting assignments 1 September or 2 September. So please make sure if you're joining the classes, make sure you've made your deposits by that day so that you don't miss out on the assignments. For the guys that are doing advanced diploma in business management. All right, just as a reminder. All right. Sure. Good night, guys.